Hello everyone, this is Captain Joel and welcome to my latest Marvel Puzzle Quest video. In this video we are going to be looking at the newest 5-star character added to the game, Hawkeye Clint Barton. This comic is from a somewhat newer comic called Occupy Avengers. A former agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. and founding member of the Avengers, Hawkeye is a master of hand-to-hand combat and wields an arsenal of arrows with unerring precision. Surrounded by gods, super soldiers, and billionaires, Clint uses experience and pragmatism to keep his teammates grounded. So, very importantly, he is a member of Team Cap, so there's finally another member of Team Cap to use with the 5-star Captain America. Hawkeye has just under 49,000 health, so he's around mid-tier health level. He's got more than Old Man Logan and Phoenix, but he doesn't have healing, so he's not quite usable in the long run if matches drag out too long. And his match damage is 592 purple, 526 blue, and 460 red. He's got decent character art. I guess this is supposed to be somewhat like the Marvel Cinematic Universe artwork, a little bit, not fully though. So I think he's a really interesting character. He's a purple, blue, red character. He is deceptively good and also deceptively bad. And what I mean by that is, as we'll see, he can very quickly dish out a lot of damage, but if you are unable to defeat the enemy at a certain point, he will become very weak. And that's because, as we'll see later, his blue move has a limited number of uses. So once you've gone through all 7 of his arrow types, he becomes much weaker and might not be able to take out an enemy so easily later on in a match. So, but early on he's dishing out a huge amount of damage and other special skills, and he has a great AP generating skill set. So let's get right to it. His purple skill is simple enough. It's called Can't Seem to Miss. It's a passive skill. Hawkeye stays cool under pressure and hits his targets. Whenever a friendly countdown tile reaches 0, gain, this is at 3 covers, 2 blue and 2 red AP. At the start of the turn, fortify 2 friendly countdown tiles. So that's pretty good to be getting that much AP back every time a countdown tile goes off, and you're going to have a lot of countdown tiles expiring with him, as both his blue and his red move create countdown tiles. And if you add in a 4th cover, all it does is give you 1 more fortify friendly countdown at the beginning of a turn, and adding on the 5th cover just as on an extra blue AP. So I think that it's really kind of overkill. The extra fortify doesn't really add that much, although it is entirely possible to have out 3 countdown tiles at once. You're not that likely to have them going out on the same turn, so usually just 2 a turn is plenty. The extra blue AP is nice to have for sure, and it can make it so you can quickly use his blue moves more often. However, I found that it's very easy to fill up all the blue tiles quickly because all of his blue and his red move basically puts countdown tiles out on blue tiles. So if you get blue too quickly, it's not really going to help that much more, just because of the fact that there's not going to be any tiles to put his countdown tiles on. So I think that generally having 3 in purple is enough, and it really gives you a lot more damage in blue and red. Now this is another character that you kind of have to see everything in action to know what the differences are. So His blue move is called Full Quiver, and it costs 5 blue AP. So Hawkeye pulls another incredible trick arrow from his quiver and fires. This power starts as a Bola arrow. When you fire it, this power becomes Explosive Arrow, and there are 6 arrows remaining. Once used, Hawkeye is out of arrows. So essentially, this blue move is putting out a countdown tile on the board, and once the countdown tile expires, it's going to do whatever the effect of that arrow is. And there's 7 different arrows. Once he's out of arrows, this becomes another hand-to-hand combat type move. So I think that what I'm going to do is show you each of the arrows at different cover levels so you can see the damage amount, and I think that'll make it a bit clearer. Okay, so right now Hawkeye is at 3 in blue. So his first arrow is Bola Arrow. Hawkeye's arrow bursts in midair, deploying bolas which wrap around his target, incapacitating them. Creates a 2-turn blue countdown tile that stuns the target for 2 turns. Then this arrow becomes Explosive Arrow, leaving 6 other arrows in Hawkeye's quiver. So let's use that. So it's a 2-turn countdown tile, and it stuns the target for 2 turns. Okay, and Hawkeye at 4 covers in blue. His Bola Arrow is a 2-turn blue countdown tile that stuns the target for 3 turns. That is 1 extra turn than at 3 covers. At 5 covers, the Bola Arrow stays the same as it was at 4 covers, of doing 3 turns of stun. And again, it did only 2 turns of stun at 3 blue covers. Okay, his next arrow is Explosive Arrow. Hawkeye's arrow hits the target, letting out an ominous beeping for mere moments before it explodes. Creates a 2-turn blue countdown tile that deals 13,441 damage to the target. Okay. There we go. And his Explosive Arrow at 4 covers creates a 2-turn countdown tile that deals 15,121 damage. It did 13,441 damage at 3 covers. So it's around 1,500 more damage at 4 covers. And going up from only doing 15,000 damage at 4 covers, the Explosive Arrow now does 17,000 damage at 5 covers. This is now Electric Arrow. Hawkeye's arrow hits the battlefield and releases an immense electric charge, creates a 2-turn blue countdown tile that creates 8 charge tiles. The Electric Arrow at 4 covers in blue still does the same exact effect, 8 charge tiles. And at 5 covers, Electric Arrow still creates the same number of charge tiles, 8. Okay, Sonic Arrow. Hawkeye's Sonic Arrow lets loose an ear-piercing scream as it flies towards its target, disorienting his enemies. Creates a 2-turn blue countdown tile that creates 3 strength, 628 red strike tiles. The Sonic Arrow goes up from creating strength 628 strike tiles to strength 717 strike tiles. Still the same number of strike tiles are created at 4 covers as at 3. Going up from creating strength 717 strike tiles, at 5 covers the Sonic Arrow now creates strength 818 strike tiles. So it's about 100 more strength in each strike tile times 3, so around 300 more strike tile strength created. Okay, now for the Ant-Man arrow. Okay, I am good. I'm good, arrow guy, let's go. Creates a 2-turn blue countdown tile that steals 9 enemy AP of a random color, and then it becomes Acid Arrow. At 4 covers, the Ant-Man arrow goes up to stealing 10 AP from 9 AP. So not much of a difference. And going up from stealing 10 enemy AP, the Ant-Man arrow now steals 11 enemy AP at 5 covers. So just 1 AP additional. Again, not much of a difference really when you're stealing that much AP, especially since it's all going to be from one color. Okay, Acid Arrow. Hawkeye lets loose an Acid Arrow, which breaks open at his target, melting metal and burning enemies. Creates a 2-turn blue countdown tile that creates 3 strength, 896 purple attack tiles. Okay. It goes up from 890 at 3 covers to 1007 purple attack tiles being created from Acid Arrow. And going up from 1007 at 4 covers to 1142 at 5 covers, Acid Arrow creates 3 strength, 1142 attack tiles. And Smoke Bomb Arrow. Hawkeye's Smoke Arrow floods the battlefield with cover for him and his allies. Creates a 2-turn blue countdown tile that grants Hawkeye and his teammates invisibility for 2 turns. Then it becomes Hawkeye's last arrow, Shrapnel Arrow. Okay. Pay attention now, this is going to be tricky to follow. And the Smoke Bomb Arrow at 4 covers is the exact same as at 3 covers. And the Smoke Bomb Arrow stays the same at 5 covers, still 2 turns of invisibility. And his last arrow, Shrapnel Arrow. Hawkeye fires his final arrow, which breaks apart in midair, firing explosive shrapnel which hits each of his targets, creates a 2-turn blue countdown tile that deals 6,720 damage to the enemy team, and then this power becomes out of arrows. It's kind of annoying how this is his last one, as it would be much better to be his first one, so you could end up doing AoE to all the targets. Right now, for example, all but one of the enemies is dead, so it's pretty much just doing 6,000 damage instead of the potential 18,000. Notice how I have only 1 blue spot left. At 4 covers, it does 7,500 damage, up from 6,700 damage. So it's a decent increase in damage from 3 to 4 covers for Shrapnel Arrow. And going up from 7,500 damage to 8,568 damage, at 5 covers, Shrapnel Arrow is increasing around 1,000 damage AoE. And lastly, out of arrows, you have used up all of your arrows. So having used all of his ammo, Hawkeye has to improvise hand to hand. Deals 7,997 damage to the target. So that's still not that bad. It's actually more useful if there's only 1 enemy left than the Shrapnel Arrow, since you can do the damage right away instead of waiting. And lastly, at 4 covers, out of arrows goes up from doing about 8,000 damage to just over 9,000 damage. So that's a pretty decent increase, especially if you are able to use a skill for only 3 because you brought Star-Lord along. So that's a decent amount of damage. Going up from just over 9,000 damage at 4 covers, out of arrows now does 10,282 damage at 5 covers in blue. And that concludes seeing all of Hawkeye's blue skills at each cover level. Wham! Okay, so I think we got to see all of the blue moves for Hawkeye at all the different cover levels. And you can see that although the changes are generally not huge between cover levels, just because there's so many, it does add up a bit. And especially looking at the strike tiles, because Hawkeye's moves are so cheap, you can really get some major benefit from having those stronger strike tiles out and just getting that extra bit of damage every time you are using one of his arrow moves. So I really think having his full quiver at 5 is important. It's a really great move. Definitely have to keep in mind the order though when you're planning things out. And the annoying thing with it is it's entirely possible that you could end up with no arrows left and just be fighting with your hand-to-hand against an opponent that's going to be able to heal more often than you can damage. But still, at over 10,000 damage for only 5 AP, it's not bad. You know, that's a pretty good damage ratio even then. So I think that he's pretty formidable with his blue. And don't forget that you're probably going to have tons of blue left over by the time you've actually used all the arrows because of all the free AP you're getting from his purple. Now let's take a look at his red, Deep Breath. This costs 5 red AP. Hawkeye takes a deep breath and draws his bow, taking careful aim at his prey. Places a 3-turn, fortified blue countdown tile. When it reaches 0, if you have at least 9 red AP, spend 9 red AP, and deal 20,385 damage. Otherwise, deal 6,272 damage. So that means you're either going to be spending a total of 14 red AP for 20,000 damage, around 1,450 damage per AP. Not to mention the fact that you'll be getting back at least 2 red AP when the countdown tile goes off. That's pretty good. And otherwise, for just 5 red AP, you're dealing at 6,275 damage, which is around 1,200 damage per AP. So not a super huge difference. And especially if you have, say, Star-Lord on his team, bringing the cost down to only 3 red AP, because this second part will not change, you still need to have the same amount of extra red AP to get the additional damage, whether or not Star-Lord has his Everyone With Me tile out. So you can actually end up doing more damage by not having that extra red AP. So it's kind of funny in this that you actually would not want to get the additional benefit of that extra damage. Assuming you still have blue tiles out you can place the red arrow on. At 4 covers, the damage jumps up to 23,298 damage if you have that extra AP. Otherwise, for just a 5 AP, you're dealing 7,000 damage. That is 1660 something damage per AP if you get that secondary condition, and if not, around 1430 or so damage per AP. Finally, at 5 red, you saw the same conditional aspect, but the damage is now 26,000 damage if you have that extra 9 red AP on hand. That's 1872 damage per AP. Otherwise, deal 8,640 damage. That's 1612 damage per AP. About 200 less. But again, remember that if you have Star-Lord with you, being able to get this move off more often is more beneficial because you can get more AP back. And if you have strike tiles out, you also have the added benefit of the strike tiles being impacting the damage of the skill. So I think that more often than not, you actually don't want to have the extra AP. And it's actually going to be difficult to not. With the blue going off so often, you're going to find yourself with 30 red AP in a lot of matches. And you just aren't going to have enough blue tiles available to even throw the red down. But at least you still have that extra benefit of it doing more damage if you don't have the tiles available to throw it down on. So this is a very good damaging skill. The countdown tiles are always annoying just because you have to wait to do the damage, but at least they are fortified, so you don't have to worry about them being matched away quite as much, especially combined with the fact that if they are matched and they're not destroyed, then in the next turn they'll be refortified with Hawkeye's purple. So let's just take a quick look at the skill in action. Okay, I'm going to launch it now. And first I'm going to do it with the extra 9 AP. Okay. Okay, and that was it with only a regular deep breath. So overall, what do I think of Hawkeye? I think he is a great character. He's able to do a lot of different things, although not necessarily in terms of you're having the control over when they're going to happen so much because of his arrows all going in a very specific order, and you might not get to the ones you want until later in the match, but you'll be surprised at how quickly you end up getting AP because of his purple skill. I think he actually has a huge number of teammates that he goes great with, but he's also one of the few 5-stars that can actually really excel and perhaps be better almost with certain 4-star teams than with 5-star teams. But you still would not really want to bring a 4-star along for PvP. So speaking about PvP, we know that for PvE he's going to go great with Coulson. He's going to go great with Star-Lord. He's going to go great with Captain Marvel because you're going to constantly be having his blue go off. So you can take out Agent Coulson and throw in Captain Marvel if you want to get that extra strike tile creation ability to really strengthen all the strike tiles every turn. I think that's a really great teammate, having Captain Marvel. Agent Coulson is not quite as good as Star-Lord because you're not reducing the AP costs, but you are generating more AP, so it's kind of tough to know which one would really be better. But in general, just having any countdown tiles resolve is really giving you a huge amount of AP between Coulson and Hawkeye. But let's look at PvP. So first off, who would he go well with? So obviously Old Man Logan would be a great option because he has a black, yellow, red. You just need green to fill out the damage. So you could try to, it depends on who the featured character is, but you could just go with Thanos, or you could go with Black Bolt. And another option, if you don't feel like bringing Old Man Logan, is actually Black Panther, because Black Panther, his black skill at 5 covers means you're going to be doing, first off, his countdown tile will be fortified by Hawkeye, and every arrow will do an extra 5,000 damage to that specific character. So if you have an arrow going off every turn, you're going to be doing a lot of extra damage. Although it won't do quite as much since a lot of the arrows don't actually do damage. It depends if they fix the bug or not currently in the game where countdown tiles deal damage. Thanos, you actually probably would not want to use with him because Thanos' purple will make it impossible to use Hawkeye's blue and red properly. So I would not use Thanos with Hawkeye. Black Bolt is a bit dicey, just having, if you're using them together, because the green could end up destroying Hawkeye's arrows. So somewhat iffy. Um, However, Green Goblin has a very well-coordinated skill set. They're both going to be fortifying tiles, and with Green Goblin's purple, you can be doing tons of damage by throwing down his pumpkin bombs, and his gliders got black. So that's definitely a really good partner to be using with Hawkeye. And then, because he's on Team Cap, they have a lot of color overlap, but you could use Captain America with Hawkeye. Um, First off, you've got the ability to generate AP because Hawkeye is on Team Cap, so that's somewhat useful. And you'll also have the coordinated offensive deal a lot more damage because you're going to have all those extra special tiles out with Hawkeye on your team. Still, not that great of a teammate. I would probably stick most of the time to just using Old Man Logan and Green Goblin as the primary partners for Hawkeye. And what I found especially interesting is even though she came out long beforehand, it seems like Black Widow 5-star was designed from the ground up to counter Hawkeye in just about every area. First off, for purple, if there's a lot of countdown tiles out, it's going to be much cheaper, and it's going to be removing the countdown tiles that Hawkeye's throwing out. So you can have Hawkeye throw out 2 or 3 arrows. This skill's now going to cost only, say, 9 or 8 AP, and she's going to be removing those tiles and dealing 10,000 damage. So that could be incredibly annoying and completely nullify the effect of many of the arrows. Then, with her red skill, if the enemy has at least 12 AP in any color, she's dealing an extra amount of damage. Well, guess what? Hawkeye creates so much extra AP with his purple skill that it's quite likely he will have at least 12 AP in blue or red, especially if being played by the AI. So again, Natasha will just destroy him, and it's really just an incredibly annoying effect of Hawkeye. So the black doesn't really do anything special against Hawkeye, but the purple and the red really seem like they were just designed to take on a character like Hawkeye. So if you are going up against Hawkeye, the easiest way to stop him, bring Black Widow along. So while I wouldn't say he is the best character out, not in PvE and not in PvP, he still is an incredibly strong character that has multiple uses, especially on teams that specialize in skills that have passive impacts that gain from having countdown tiles resolve. I think that he's definitely in the upper tier though, but he's just not quite at that competitive level as some of the other characters, but he's definitely high up there. I'm not sure exactly where I would rank him, but he's very high up there in the rankings, but just not quite there. He's not Thanos level, he's not Black Bolt level, and he's not Doctor Strange level, but he's still very high up there. Let me know if you guys think there's any other good teams to use him with, or if there's other counters you would use against him. And again, if you want to, I'm going to have a video after this where I'm going to show you a couple matches with him. And let me know if you think that there's better teams that I might have missed. And if you're interested in how I got all those resources, just click on the link that's showing right now. And if you're interested in seeing more of my videos, click on the other link that shows up right now. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Peace!